Who has a better shot at being the next Jets GM? You or me, Tom?
Well, I like to think I have experience in being a Packers fan. They have now failed with 2 former Packers quarterbacks. They could totally make it work with a Packers fan. However, if they want to go the other way, they got Nathaniel Hackett from you, which again came from us. So maybe just 3 degrees of separation. I think we both got a shot. It depends if they like jizz jokes.
Oh, it all hinges on that. You can be the GM, and can I be your big Dom? Can I be little Dom for you? Like the Eagles have? I'll just be your enforcer.
I would say, do you want to buy the Jets? Well, we don't want to buy the Jets.
No. I'll be little Dom.
Okay.
And since I'm not physically imposing the way Big Dom is, I'm just going to carry a samurai sword behind you at all times.
Are you going to speak softly and carry a big stick, or is it literally just going to be a sword?
Yeah. I will only speak to you, and I will whisper my thoughts from time to time. Maybe don't. Trade for Aaron Rodgers.
Well, I think if you carried around a samurai sword, I think Aaron Rodgers would just want to talk to you. I think he'd be gravitated towards you. So
Aaron Rodgers and I would get along.
You guys would get along really well. Yeah, this is gonna. Baby, we here.
We're still.
You in the right direction. Welcome to another edition of the Grossi Perna Show. I'm Tom Grossi. That's Brandon Perna, and this is GPS. And the S stands for sucking the life out of the Jets because they are a cold, dead corpse, husk, shell of their former selves. And yeah, it's not really breaking news anymore, but yesterday, while we were on our non-GPS day, GM Joe Douglas is the latest victim of the Jets organization and has been fired. And so now that is a head coach, and that is a GM. And Aaron Rodgers, the Don, is the only one that remains.
New York.
New Jersey. New Jersey.
City where dreams go to.
Oh, yeah, that happened too. I saw it this morning too. We'll talk about the other New Jersey team in which you have Daniel Jones, who got benched for Davante Adams. And apparently it was like Dexter Lawrence or something. Somebody came out and said like, hey, like he's the best quarterback on the roster. You know, they don't like how this all went down. And I mean, like, I get it, because at the end of the day, are you going to see anything different from Tommy DeVito? You know what I mean? Like, I mean,
yeah, you're going to see some of this.
You're going to see a little bit of pasta and meatball, of course, but a little mats, but what's
gabagool, baby.
It just seems like both organizations are a disaster. And the question is, which one is the bigger disaster? I think it's still the Jets.
Yeah.
But 100%. Neither outlook is very good.
Yeah, I think like the Jet situation's just bizarre. It's been a weird year for the Jets from start to finish. None of their expectations have been met. And I think they were way too high. Jets' expectations were too high. But that was after being pushed lower than they would have been, considering Rodgers was hurt for all of 2023. But when you fire your head coach, you demote your play caller, you fire your GM, you make a big trade, and the same shit keeps happening, your problem is probably going to take many things to fix.
Yeah.
And I think what we're left wondering at this point is Woody Johnson the problem, or was what Aaron Rodgers kind of wanted with him coming to the Jets the problem? And it's probably both. I think there was a nice hit piece put out on Woody Johnson. I couldn't find. I saw like these things about Woody Johnson nixed a trade for Jerry Jeudy. That Woody Johnson wanted to bench Aaron Rodgers after he lost to the Broncos. And maybe the Rodgers thing was true. I don't know. The Judy thing, who knows? But there's a lot of information after Joe Douglas got fired that makes Woody Johnson look like a bottom 3 NFL owner. Like he's trying to dictate too much. And usually if an owner is trying to do that, it is a problem. Unless they are a football savant, which they rarely are, because they don't get to where they are by understanding football really well. They get to where they are by having a fuck ton of money, and that usually comes from being very good at some other form of business. So Jets fans, they're like, are we going to continue to be put in horrible situations because our owner can't just like chill? Or was bringing in Rodgers, maybe from a football perspective, the right move, but based on what we know in terms of like what Rodgers wants? And I'm not even saying it's necessarily a bad thing. I get, like, if you've been a quarterback in the league as long as Aaron Rodgers, you're going to want some things done a certain way, and that's fine.
Same thing with Tom Brady, right? Tom Brady literally did the exact same thing.
It's totally fine. But if the results aren't there, then you take a big part of the blame, whether that's fair or not.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to talk about this. I want to talk about a lot of things, because I think there's a lot of finger pointing, because there's folks within the Jets organization, or like I should say fans within the Jets organizations, that are like, hey, he needed to go, or this is just another problem here. And I've seen a bunch of different takes here. And I think that this shows how quickly people turn on an organization / front office / GM, what have you, because it was last year, 2 years ago, where Joe Douglas was a genius, and we know Brian Gutekunst was smart at all, and this was such a ripoff for the Packers, and oh man, got him for a 2nd round pick and all this crap. And the Packers are obviously impacted by this, right? And the Packers, if anything, are looking even better after what has happened this season. I think you have a series of issues that Joe Douglas was, I would say, a pretty damn good scout. I think his drafts were not awful. I understand that there were some swings and misses, like Zach Wilson is a swing and a miss. Garrett Wilson is not a miss. And I remember talking about this too and saying, I'm curious to see how they're going to pick in the draft when they're not gifted like a top 10 pick, right? But they got Will McDonald too. I think Will McDonald, I thought, was really coming out of the draft. I don't think he was bad in that sense. I think the problem is, and I'm curious on your thoughts, they make the trade for Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
In which Aaron Rodgers wanted to go to the Jets. The Jets were willing to do anything to bring in Aaron Rodgers, right? It was all the leverage talk and who has this lev or whatever. They bring in all his friends as well. They bring in Allen Lazard. They bring in Nathaniel Hackett. They bring in Randall Cobb, right? They bring in Billy Turner. They bring in all these people to satisfy Aaron Rodgers. And again, I'm not even faulting them for that, because Aaron Rodgers, if you got the back-to-back MVP Aaron Rodgers, and I know the last year he was with Green Bay, his thumb was all messed up since the Giants game. He didn't have his best season, but he still had a good season compared to other quarterbacks, right? Yeah. If you got that level of play, and I mentioned this before in the offseason, if you got that level of play that was so above Zach Wilson, this team was going to win football games, because they were still, wasn't great, they were still able to win games with Zach Wilson. So I think that you now look upon the Jets, who have a fired head coach, a fired GM. There's no one else really to blame, because I told you, and everybody told him, if this doesn't work out, people are going to lose their jobs. And we have now seen 2 major positions within the Jets organization fired. The only one who's not going to get fired is their owner, and is Woody Johnson, who I think kind of got wrapped up in, hey, this is an opportunity where we have an amazing defense, right? We even have a really good wide receiver as well. Let's go and try to win this entire thing. Because if you look at the Bucs, right, what was the one thing they had? They had the receivers, right? And they had Godwin, they had Mike Evans before Brady got there. But they had a kick-ass defense. Like, they had a really damn good defense. And so did the Jets. And I think heading into this scenario, we were like, okay, if Rodgers is healthy, he's going to play well. The offensive line's not that good. Maybe they need another target. That's why they're bringing in Allen Lazard. At least you have that chemistry there. But things fell apart so quickly. And I think they missed their window. And I think we're going to be sitting here wondering what could have been if Aaron Rodgers didn't get hurt last year. Is it still the same outcome? I know the O-line was not good, but is it the same outcome maybe because the defense was better? And all these things come out. He gets hurt. You waste a season. The defense does not improve. Doesn't look like anything really improved for the Jets. And now you're sitting here going into week 12 without your head coach, without your GM, with now an older veteran quarterback that you're going to have to make a decision on. And heading into next year, there's no more optimism. It's we got to tear it all down and figure out what the hell the future is going to be, because this was their last shot in terms of keeping that defense together, getting Aaron Rodgers in there, having the coaching staff in there. And it was just an epic fail. And at this point, you fired your head coach, fired GM. There's only one other person to look at, and it is your owner, because at the end of the day, that's your name on the team.
I'm talking about the man in the mirror.
Yeah. So I'm curious, like, what your thoughts are.
Ways.
Sound beautiful.
My thoughts are the Jets are screwed no matter what they do until they move on from Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
This is all right. This is Joe Douglas. You're right. In terms of finding talent in the draft, that's good. That's a lot of hits. Every single GM you look at is going to have some misses. The Zach Wilson thing, I have a hard time forgiving that. That entire quarterback draft class, though, it's like everybody should get a do-over because of the COVID season. I think it messed up everybody's evaluation process. But Zach Wilson, like Trey Lance, you didn't have a good sample size. You didn't have experience to actually evaluate those guys. And for the life of me, I cannot explain why smart football people looked at very little football tape of those quarterbacks and said, yeah, let's pull the trigger, you know?
Similar to how Woody Johnson fell into the trap of going to get Aaron Rodgers because they need a quarterback and they can win now. I think it's the same thing with Zach Wilson. And if anybody knows this, it's you, Perna, right? And that you will take risks on a guy so they could be your franchise QB, because it is very difficult to win in this league without one. Yeah. And they, for long term. And I think that you fall into those traps where, okay, let's go get this Zach Wilson kid. Yeah, he barely played any games. Competition wasn't that great. But if he can save the franchise, what we kind of need, we need that guy. And I think you look at comparatively the Cleveland Browns and the Jets, how they tried to solve their quarterback problem. They did it in very different ways and both blew up in spectacular fashion. Yeah. But the Browns got caught in the same exact thing, in that they were like, hey, we're a quarterback away. Let's go bring in a guy who we've seen has put on something on tape, has been really good in Deshaun Watson, and let's go try to win a Super Bowl. The Jets did the same exact thing. Yeah. They gave up less for him in terms of trade value, but it has now cost their organization significantly, because now these past 2 years have amounted to absolutely nothing. That's rough. Feel better.
The Jets, Nick, I blame you because I don't feel good either. So maybe you got me sick, Nick.
Whoa, Nick, way to go.
God dang it, Nick.
Come on, Nick.
This is not a good example, Theo. I'm sorry. It's the Raiders. You can look at you can talk about how every team makes decisions in the draft, but you have to put the Raiders, like, especially during that time period, in a completely different category. But that was Al Davis was still around. He's just like, give me the fastest or the guy who can throw it the farthest.
Well, it's also, again, the draft is not an exact science.
No.
And like I've talked to Mark Murphy about this. And he's like, yeah, we just try to get as many draft picks as we can, because then you just have more of an opportunity to hit on one. Because if every single first round guy who had a first round grade on him was good, we wouldn't have this issue at all. Yeah. That's just not where we are. And this is why, like, the scouting team is so important. This is why your GM is so important. This is why ownership in this particular case as well, and influencing. And you're seeing this with Bill Belichick when he was the GM also and head coach of the Patriots. You saw that with the Cowboys and Jerry Jones, who's the owner / GM. and that it's very easy to screw this up. And one big decision like this could mess up your franchise for years.
Sure.
And that's kind of where we are right now.
Well,
we'll see, Hazmat.
One reason. All right. So Tom Brady goes to the Bucs. You referenced that, right?
Yeah.
That draft, the draft he went there, the Bucs hit a home run in selecting Tristan Wirfs.
Yep.
So they get one of the best tackles in the NFL.
In the game
one
right
of the
now.
best drafted tackles in the last 5 years for sure.
I think so.
Already paired with a tremendous center. They had Jensen at the time. So their offensive line got better right as Tom Brady got there.
Yeah, Wirfs was an amazing selection.
And if the Jets had a top flight offensive line, I don't think we're having this conversation today. Because Aaron Rodgers hasn't been lighting it up, but he hasn't been a bad quarterback.
Not god awful.
He's been ineffective at times. They started that last game with 5 3-and-outs, right?
Yes.
They couldn't convert a first down, and then they clawed back into it. They made it a competitive game. He's not playing stupid football.
No.
He's not the Aaron Rodgers who was winning MVPs, but on the field, he's not necessarily the problem.
Right.
After Saleh leaves, the thing that was the sure thing with the Jets and that defense, like you also mentioned, it's just gotten not as good. It's declined. So when you make too many changes, especially within a season, it's going to show in the win-loss column. I think we should at some point, how many times have organizations done these changes during the season to see it actually pay off?
Yeah.
Is it Rich Bisaccia the only example we have in recent memory? The Raiders maybe last year with Antonio Pierce, they were optimistic towards the end of the season. That's not working out well now, but
yeah, I don't think he's going to stay there either.
Yeah. If Rodgers comes back, the Jets have to figure out a way to make the offensive line very good. They have the weapons on offense to do it now. You've got Breece Hall, you've got Davante Adams, and you have Garrett Wilson. And Garrett Wilson's played pretty well throughout most of this season.
They got him right now, too, and they can't do diddly squat.
No, I know.
That's what I'm saying. You tweeted about this yesterday, saying the next guy they need to come in, say hey, we need to get rid of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And at this point, I think if Rodgers comes back, and I think that's a big if Rodgers comes back, because he might be sick of this too.
Sure.
They're still going to have to draft a quarterback. What are you going to do? You're going to go 3 years into this and be no, let's still try to build around Aaron Rodgers, even though now we have a new head coach and a new GM. I think you can have Aaron Rodgers, but you have to draft a quarterback behind him, because otherwise you're giving up another year with somebody else's scheme. But yeah, I don't think that's happening. And if the Jets do that, if Aaron goes, I want to come back again next year. No, let's really try. Let's go all in, right? Man, I don't know. And again,
who can they get right now too? They got to keep losing at this point.
Arthur's expectations 1,000,000%.
There's 1, 2, 3 teams we know 100% will be interested in a quarterback.
Yep.
Maybe 4. Maybe Jacksonville becomes sellers if they do maintain the number 1 spot there.
Yeah.
But they've got a lot of people drafting before them in terms of drafting a quarterback.
Correct.
But yeah, you have to be you need a GM who's not going to be beholden to Aaron Rodgers. And we watched the Broncos do that mid-Russell Wilson era. They brought in Sean Payton, who did not give 2 fucks about Russell Wilson at all. If anything, he's get your office out of here. You're going to listen to what I have to say. And now I want to bench you. And you're playing better than you were last year.
Yeah.
You're playing better, and I want you on the bench. They need somebody with that type of confidence. And I'm not saying Sean Payton's perfect, but you've got to have somebody who's in charge there. And I think Robert Saleh was too complacent. I think Joe Douglas was too complacent. And the one thing Joe Douglas took some misses on, free agency, right? So you've got to hit on both phases.
Sure.
Especially when it's these older quarterbacks now, and you've got this really small window. You don't have time to build with those guys. And Kirk Cousins, like I just watched him play completely ineffective football against the Broncos. Yep. They gave that guy $100 million to score 6 points.
Yeah.
And the Broncos defense is very good. I would forgive that for most quarterbacks, but not for a vet who you've given $100+ million to come in and elevate your team, and you have weapons, you have a good offensive line, and he ain't getting it done.
Yeah. Terry. Well, Terry, to this point too, this is what not to borrow from the Cleveland Browns, and this is not to put anybody down. Yeah. This is also why you need an adult in the room. That's what
you need Baker Mayfield in the room.
Yeah, exactly. This is what your GM is supposed to do, though. Yeah. And now the problem with this, and I got to give Joe Douglas a bit of credit here, and I don't want to be too harsh on him, because when you have an owner breathing down your neck, when Woody Johnson took his plane and went to Aaron Rodgers' house and was like, get this done. I mean, I can't really blame Joe Douglas a ton for what's happened with Aaron Rodgers, because if it's coming from the guy who's signing his checks, what else? What are you supposed to do? And that's where it comes to ownership. And I think when you're talking about who to blame, we could blame Aaron Rodgers all day, every day, right? We could blame Joe Douglas. We blame Nathaniel Hackett. We could blame Robert Saleh, even though Robert Saleh is not really the problem. But looking at this, at the end of the day, this also shows how important ownership is. And the ownership to go, hey, we'd like to get this done. We'd like to make this work. But we trust you with football operations, meaning the GM, right?
This is what I think
for football people. And Woody Johnson was like, nope, I want this guy.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to have Joe Douglas on the Broncos staff as a draft assistant, a draft commander, another just a set of eyes. Like, I think he does that very well. And you could argue outside of the first round, right? Outside of the first round for the Jets. But there's been some good picks there, too. They got Sauce and Garrett Wilson in the same freaking draft. Both
Sauce is aging now, but yeah.
So, like, really, the only whip there was probably Mekhi Becton outside of Zach Wilson. So I think he'll get work quickly. And if you're Woody Johnson, I think you've got to take a step back.
Yep.
You just say, you know what? I screwed up. I took the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. I should have went with Pfizer. Clearly, there were issues with my own vaccine. It has put a worm in my brain. And now I am getting it removed. I'm going to let the general manager do these things, because who are the other teams keep getting effed by their owners? Those Panthers. Cowboys. And maybe David Tepper's he's tempered his involvement a hair. Now, I'm not saying that the Panthers should have too much optimism.
An up-and-coming team, but
they're building in the right direction. Jerry Jones.
Yep.
And the problem with Jerry is he had too much success when he was hands-on.
Yeah.
And it's taken him 25, 30 years, and he's still like, I can fix it. Who are the other? Give me another owner, two involved. 1, 2. I had another one. I can't remember right now. But what
we could talk about the McCaskies not doing great in Chicago.
Yes, the Bears. It was the Bears.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're too hands-on. They're just too
much of a mess.
They can't afford to make the types of changes they need to make when they need to make them.
Correct.
And that's thankfully me. I don't watch porn. I've never been into any weird kinky stuff.
Pretty much everybody eats bread.
Forgot that was there, and apologies for interrupting.
No, the line between, to be fair to owners, okay, and those top decision makers, like figuring out when you're making too many changes versus holding on to a bad situation too long because you're trying to be fair, that's a tough decision. That is a thin line, and that line is gray as fuck. It is not a black and white line most of the time. So knowing you don't want to be an organization turning it over too much, and you don't want to be the organization holding on to your GM and head coach that aren't working.
Correct.
Because you need to let him develop. And I saw a good tweet about all these coaches people want fired. I think Brian Dable was in the mix there. It was like Mike McDaniel. It was a list of good head coaches whose teams are playing poorly. Yeah. It's like, we should not be talking about firing these guys when there are other problems clearly evident to, people watching.
Did the Jets get better when they fired Robert Saleh?
No.
Right? Like, and again, Saleh, I think a lot, even Jets fans, good defensive guy, maybe not the best head coach, right? Yeah. Which is okay. But these are the things, like you had when Tom Brady goes to the Buccaneers, right? That did not work out well at the beginning of the season either. Like that was a mess, and you had a power struggle going on, and there was like everyone's fighting against one another. And then after the bye, they're like, we're not going to lose another game because they did it a little bit more Tom Brady's way. And then that worked for that season.
Yeah.
It did not work in following seasons, but they won a Super Bowl. They got what they wanted.
Bruce Arians, it got a lot worse.
Yeah. The Browns, they tried to do the same exact thing. Did not work out. The Jets, they tried to do the same exact. It is so rare for that to work out when you take that kind of big swing, but you're talking about firings and all that great stuff. We live in such a win right now kind of atmosphere. And if you're an owner who goes, hey, I want to make a ton of money doing this, I want more people at the games and buying franchise QB jerseys and all that great stuff. At the end of the day, the one person who's not going to get punished for this is Woody Johnson.
Yeah.
Because he is still going to be a billionaire. He is still going to own the football team. And regardless who the GM is, regardless who the head coach is, regardless who the QB is, it doesn't matter. So even though at his recommendation to his GM and telling it to his head coaches who you're going to coach, he's the only one who's not going to face consequences for this football mistake.
Yeah. And all I want to know is if Woody Johnson actually wanted to bench Aaron Rodgers.
Sure.
That tells me everything about how little that guy knows about football. If after 4 weeks through this season, if he really thought bringing in Tyrod Taylor would help them win football games, that man should not be allowed to own a football team. And I think Tyrod Taylor's a fine backup to have. But the ripple effect that would have had on your locker room, on your competence as an organization, if he actually wanted to do that, and Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh, they had to talk him out of it. Jets, I'm sorry. I'm apologizing for you now and for the future. Because I can look at Aaron Rodgers and that team, and I can say he's not playing his best football.
Sure.
But benching him right now ain't going to fix it. And I fully support moving on from Rodgers after this year if you want.
Sure.
Or you talk to Rodgers and be like, we're going to draft a guy. Are you going to be a leader who helps develop and cultivate that guy? And I think Rodgers would. I think if we've learned anything about Aaron Rodgers when Jordan Love was there, wasn't a dick to Jordan, right? We know Kurt Benkert, who was on that roster, loves Aaron Rodgers and how he treated players. And I think you can disagree with some shit about Rodgers, but players fucking love that guy. They love playing for that guy. So if you drafted a rookie and Rodgers was made aware of it and was like, I will help that kid out, then that would be a good situation to go into as a rookie if you were wanting to bring him back. You know what I'm saying?
I think the issue is people want to know this question, Perna. I think the problem with that though, Brandon, is like he wasn't brought there for that.
No, he wasn't brought there.
And I think that's why I don't know if he comes back. Because let me put it this way.
Sure.
There's two options here, right? Well, technically three.
Maybe Frosty. Maybe.
One, he retires, and then that's just the end of that. Two, he goes, all right, I'm going to go back one more year and develop, and let's see if we can just go on a run and make something happen. I don't know how likely that is. Three, he goes to a different team, but I know there's like the jokes of he's going to fulfill the Packer. You know,
no, he's going to go to the Steelers. The Steelers will move on from Russ and Justin, and then they will take Aaron Rodgers.
But I'm going to be honest, who is trading for him? Like there are teams.
The Steelers will get the Jets to pay 95% of his salary, just like the Broncos are doing for Russ. And the Steelers are going to win back-to-back Super Bowls with Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. just to show how stupid the Broncos and Jets were.
Yeah. I mean, but I mean that though, of just who you're saying he's not playing poorly, which I agree. He's not playing poorly.
No, he's average. He's like QB 14 right now.
But I don't know who's making a trade because who's in a win now situation.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, if he wants to come back and play, your new general manager's got to be like, this is my plan. Do you want to be a part of it or not? And if he doesn't want to be a part of it, you cut him, you eat your cap. I don't even know what the situation is there. If he wants to be a part of it, then fine.
I mean,
he just knows he's no longer making GM decisions.
It's just last year, before last season started, I will never forget the Jets putting out those promotional videos of all the calls they were getting, all their season tickets that were being sold, and Aaron Rodgers is picking up the phone, and they're going to be back. And good God, man, for Jets fans have been kicked in the nuts forever. But this is a swift kick in the nuts.
Yeah.
Like, this is a holy crap, man. Because this was, they actually went all in. This was their attempt of going all in, and it blew up so badly in their face. And now you're looking at next season going,
done that.
Yeah. And now you're looking at next season going, well, we got to rebuild.
Yep.
And to go from Zach Wilson to the prospect of Aaron Rodgers to losing him for the season, then no, don't worry, he'll be fine this season. And now going, well, in 2025, we're rebuilding again.
Yeah.
That's rough, dude. Like, that's
it's not even just a new GM. They got to find the right head coach too.
Yeah.
So like, there's a lot they got to figure out.
Which who wants, again, like you look at Ben Johnson, right? Is going to be one of the most highly sought after prospects, right? Candidates for in this upcoming cycle. Ben Johnson he refused to go to Washington, right? And he wanted to go back to Detroit. And we'll see if he winds up leaving. I know the Lions fans are already saying he kicks puppies just like they were doing last week. They're already building in that misinformation just so he stays in Detroit.
Don't want this guy.
No, you don't want him. He punches babies. Yeah. But he's also going to pick a place that's going to work for him. And there might be there's going to be teams that I think that are going to offer him a crap ton of money, like really rich owners and going, hey, this is Ben Johnson. We're going to throw a crap ton of money at him. Maybe that he can't even refuse.
Jacksonville, do it.
I think pretty fun. But at the same time, Ben Johnson's going to look at this and go, I mean, the cult, they love me in Detroit. We know that culture works for what he knows how to call that offense. Yes. I don't think he's perfect, but like he's pretty damn good. And I don't know. I don't want to go to the Jets.
No.
You get the flexibility of potentially getting the quarterback that you want, if you're willing to like trade up and stuff like that. But I don't know if you go to the Jets.
No,
I don't want to go without ownership.
No.
So
speaking of ownership and everything going wrong, I do want to talk about the Dallas Cowboys for a minute.
And their stadium.
We had Monday Night Football. We haven't discussed it. Cowboys. It wasn't just that they lost. It was that their stadium's falling apart in front of our very eyes, Tom.
Maybe we just wait. See. Yes.
Watching sheet metal fall from the ceiling of God's cathedral to football. One of the most I don't even know if it's irony. It's just too on the nose. Like Jerry World's falling apart and our team is falling apart. And just the opening of the broadcast with Joe Buck.
Yep.
Was his comedic timing there was perfect. Because he's like, and for the first time in 2 years, the stadium here in Dallas is open. Long pause. Wait, no, it's not. Like, part of me doesn't know if he set it up like that or if he just got word like, no, they actually did close it. But like, man, my takeaway from that game though is like the Texans let the Cowboys hang around a little too long, and some of the Texans problems for me were a little bit more evident because of that game than the Dallas Cowboys being as bad as they are. It's like, okay, the Texans do have offensive line issues. That's causing CJ to struggle a little bit. He threw a really bad interception early. One of those touchdowns they scored was that defensive touchdown. Joe Mixon carried them. And they had that Nico Collins touchdown called back because of holding.
First play of the game, yeah.
Yeah. It's, they put it together. They eventually, second half, they just kicked the shit out of the Cowboys. But, Texans have a few things they need to figure out before they get to the postseason.
I don't know about each division, but like Jets, Browns, 49ers are up there right this second. 49ers, I think, could save it potentially still because they're in a mess of a division. But I think the Jets are literally, in terms of expectations that were placed upon them, I think they're the most disappointing team this season.
Yeah. And I think I didn't think the Raiders were going to be good. I think a lot of people thought the Raiders would be all right. They've been really, really bad.
That turned into a mess real quick. Yeah. Real quick.
The Jaguars.
I mean, so someone said the Packers, when they beat the Cowboys, like they haven't won a home game yet, the Cowboys. No. And they were so good at home last year.
And they were losing badly at home.
And now, like, they're getting their ass kicked.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the Cowboys are a mess, too, because Dak Prescott's for that big contract, CeeDee Lamb's for that big contract. Got to figure out what's going on with Micah Parsons. This season's a wash. I would be shocked if McCarthy returns after this year. Like, Zimmer's not working out. Like, they're going to clean house. But the guy who comes in is going to have to work with Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Let me be very clear. But you might reduce your candidacy pool because you're already locked in for who you have under center.
Yeah.
And I think Dak is a good quarterback.
The Cowboys so bad. I want Belichick to go to the Cowboys.
I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. Jerry Jones going, hey, let's go one more swing and let's go and try and bring in one of the most famous coaches of all time and Bill Belichick. I could see it. See it. True. But I agree with you about the Texans, though, because they're kind of getting into that. I think they're good, but maybe not great. Like, they're a good football team. And I think that Joe Mixon, who, again, I said on Monday night, was whiffed on that one. Completely and totally wrong on that one. Joe Mixon has done really, really well for them. But, and I know they're dealing with injuries and stuff, I do think that right now, like, they better hope that Anthony Richardson doesn't start looking really, really good for the Colts like he did on Sunday, because then that division might be a little bit more competitive. So, that's going to make it 10 times worse.
Yeah, that's going to make it even worse.
That's going to make it 1,000,000 times worse. Absolutely. I completely and totally agree.
Yeah.
However, I will say this actually might increase the amount of hits in later rounds, because if you have a guy that maybe was like not on such a great team or whatever, but just couldn't get whatever, I think you might see, maybe some 4th, 5th round guys.
Yeah. There's that clip that always goes around about like Tom Brady talking about how colleges don't develop quarterbacks right. They don't learn NFL systems there. They don't learn systems. That doesn't even factor in like the portal shit. So you're very right.
Yeah. Hey,
I did want to
happy almost
bring up happy birthday.
I'm sorry about your knee. Jeez. Okay. Yeah. No good. I hope
ACL on my birthday tomorrow.
It's not a great way to spend the birthday, but I hope it's better after that. What's better? Happy almost birthday. Sorry, Perna, continue.
I hope your ACL is intact. That's not fun surgery.
Perna knows. It's true.
Okay.
Oh boy.
The Ringer, which I like. I want to state right now, I do like The Ringer. But I'm tired of their bullshit, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
So they got this great quarterback rating chart. It's very cool. It's a great website. Wish somebody would do this for our power rankings. All right, we got Trevor Lawrence sitting at 11. There's your man, Jordan Love at 12.
Jordan. You
got Rodgers sitting at 13. Goff's at 14 for that stupid.
True,
okay.
Oh boy, where's Bo? Oh boy.
Yeah, you know.
Oh, Bo.
32.
Wow.
Ranked 32 in their quarterback power rankings, Tom. Behind Daniel Jones, benched.
Real quick, can you scroll back down for a hot second? A dual threat quarterback who's not particularly... No, go back up to Daniel Jones. A dual threat quarterback who's not particularly good at passing or running. Damn, that's
yeah. That's brutal.
That's pretty brutal.
I know they're probably just trying to trigger us by keeping Bo Nix at 32. They're probably getting extra clicks, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But they've had it all year long, Tom. I see this like once a week. Sitting at 32 after winning Rookie of the Month honors, nominated or Rookie of the Week, nominated for Rookie of the Week again. And that's like, if you want to have Bo at like 24, fine. I get it. Bo's got a lot to prove still. But 32, behind Dan Jones, behind Jacoby Brissett, benched, behind injured Andy Dalton, Anthony Richardson. Skills, athletic skills, yes. Richardson has more of them than Bo Nix. Behind Justin Fields, benched. Behind, Sam Darnold.
Justin.
I would take it behind Sam.
Sure.
Drake May's played 3 fucking games. You got him at 25 already?
Perna's upset.
Jameis Winston? Are you kidding me?
Perna's upset now. I'm sorry, Bailey. I'm sorry.
Russ? When does this get? Has this been updated for this week? He threw an interception in the end zone, guys.
Yeah.
And Caleb Williams at 22, 10 spots ahead of Bo Nix, Tom. None of this makes sense. None of this. It's the dumbest quarterback rankings I've ever seen, and that includes the dumb ones that I have done with you, Tom. That includes my own stupidity, Tom.
And that's why it comes down to being subjective, my friend. Also, Gregory, I think, first of all, we've seen this a bunch already happen this season, but 2, I think Eberflus is blaming almost everyone but himself because he had an opportunity to run another play and get even closer. So I don't think that's why the Bears lost the football game.
Yeah.
I
imagine having Kirk Cousins sitting at 17 and Bo Nix at 32. After
32 seems ridiculous.
Just went head to head with him, threw 4 touchdowns, no picks, and this man did nothing. Nothing.
Yep.
Giving Kirk a lot of credit for previous work, I'll tell you that.
Well, I mean, like it's tough because when you're doing QB rankings, are you doing it just for this season or are you keeping in mind their previous bodies of work, right? Yeah. So I can understand from that logic, but like at the same time, yeah, Bo Nix is not playing like the worst quarterback in the league right now.
No.
So I don't understand that one.
Geno Smith sitting at 9 right now.
Doesn't have as much hype.
You kidding me?
Geno, to be fair, to give Geno some credit, like I know
9th best quarterback though.
He is playing pretty well. He's not perfect. I know the interceptions are not great, but what he's doing behind that offensive line, he's doing the best he can. You know what? He deserves, I don't know about 9, but he at least deserves some credit behind that offensive line.
Geno should be at like 19.
He's playing really well. Yeah, this is all
right. Josh makes sense. Mahomes makes sense. Lamar, I don't think he's won right now, but whatever. Anyway, sick of that shit, Ringer. Fix it.
It's fun times.
Fix
fun
it.
Times.
And I'm not saying Bo is I'm not even saying Bo's better than Jaden Daniels. But he's gotten better every week, and you've given him 0 credit for improvement.
32 is ridiculous. Like 32 is just, it's not there.
Ahead behind Daniel Jones. Okay. I like it though. Keep sleeping on him.
Yeah.
Please.
That's it. I mean, the culture, sure, but again, who's setting the culture? And I want you to think about that question. Who is setting the culture in New Jersey? Is it the head coach? Is it the GM? Or is it the one who's telling both those people what to do? I mean, we know why the culture was absolute dog water in Washington for all those years.
Yeah.
We don't have to look too far. And again, I want to be very clear. I'm not comparing Woody Johnson to Dan Snyder. But I'm saying when you have an owner that is involved, and Woody Johnson is involved, then at the end of the day, right, it's Jerry Jones. Oh, they draft who, they want to draft. But Jerry is sitting there in the draft room at the top like Emperor Palpatine going, this is who I want.
What if Joe Douglas just joins the Giants?
You get off season. I mean, yeah, why not? Again, I think he's a good scout. He's a good scout.
Yeah. They've got, a GM on the hot seat. I hope Brian Dable's not on the hot seat. But, he wouldn't be a big move. And he could probably help the Giants in an area I think they need some more help.
Pretty sure the Lions are watching my draft streams and are going, who does Tom want this year? Okay. J-Mo, Arnold, Brian Branch.
Yeah, Brian Branch playing out of his mind.
Yeah, Brian Branch. Brian Branch. I mean, we'll see. I mean, again, for me, the blame goes to ownership because we can look at Rodgers, we can look at Joe Douglas, we look at Saleh, but at the end of the day, there's one person who's making that decision. And then the decisions that are made afterwards. Woody Johnson fired their head coach. Woody Johnson fired their GM. And I'm not even saying it was working out, but the only person left that you brought is Aaron Rodgers. They're going to win more games now with an interim GM and an interim head coach? I don't think so.
No.
That's a great question, MJ. It depends on, I think if Dable stays and they actually get a quarterback, maybe it could be the Giants. Like they overperformed a couple years ago when they beat the Vikings in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like I think they could do it. And the Jets, what's frustrating is like there's obvious talent on that team.
Yeah.
Especially on the defensive side of the ball. But it just is not being reined in. And I know that we talked about this, was it Monday or last week when you showed that Sauce Gardner clip where you had interim head coach, right? Ulbricht's going in teaching you how to tackle.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I don't think we need to do that. Well, guess things are not going well in New Jersey. And it's just looking.
Maybe be like, you know what? Our defense needs to play better. And it sucks having to watch a tutorial about tackling when you're an NFL pro. But if that helps us get better, then we're going to do it.
Yeah. I mean, so Mark Murphy, who I'm obviously a fan of Mark Murphy, who's getting inducted into the Packers Hall of Fame, very well deserved. That was announced earlier this week. You talk about Detroit when Sheila takes over, completely different. But the Packers ownership structure does not only bring in fans because people like the fact that there is not a billionaire owner, but Mark Murphy has gotten some heat because he is involved in football operations like an owner would be. But again, they have numerous checks and balances. And even Matt LaFleur came out when he was asked about Mark Murphy. He goes, he just lets people do their job. That's it. He lets people do their job. He's in on the conversations. He's sitting in on the conversation, but he lets them do their job. He lets Goody do his job as a GM. And that makes a big difference. And there's some great owners. There's some owners that we never talk about on this show or in the NFL. And that's a good thing because it's like, oh, hands off, or they're not actively causing problems. And when you have a bad owner. Trust me, fans know when they got a bad owner. Yeah. So,
dude, a lot of the Broncos' problems out after, Manning left is because their ownership was in limbo. They were run by a trust. And now that they have an owner who has a lot of money, Walmart's letting George Payton and Sean Payton do their thing. So it's a long game. There's a lot of years left to really form a fair opinion, but I feel very optimistic about things going forward. Even if it turns out like Bo Nix just is like your run of the mill quarterback, like the fact that we have some excitement and we're overperforming in terms of what roster the Broncos have, those are all good things. Getting more out of players nobody expected anything from, that means some things are going correctly.
I mean, you bring up Jared Goff. I mean, as soon as Jared Goff got traded for Matthew Stafford, it was like, okay, when are the Lions moving away from Jared Goff?
We all just assumed he was a bridge.
That was it. But again, he learned the system. He worked well within the system. He was coached within the system and said, hey, let me amplify your strengths. Jared Goff doesn't have to throw the ball 40 times.
No.
Because that's also just not, that's not really the quarterback that he is. And so working within the system. And the problem is when you brought in Aaron Rodgers, and I understand because Aaron Rodgers historically is a better quarterback than Jared Goff. That is not a hot take. When it comes to Aaron Rodgers, though, it was like, oh no, this is Aaron Rodgers' system now, right? And it worked with Brady. Again, after the bye week, it worked with Brady. But there's not many organizations that works for where you just go, all right, let's just give up to the whims of a quarterback.
Yeah.
Because the Packers did it. They did it in 2022. They gave him a big old contract, all that, and it did not work out.
It's also like with Goff, what's interesting is he might actually
It's true, AAA.
be a better fit for what Ben Johnson wants to do as a play caller than maybe Stafford would. Stafford's too talented almost, where like he'll take some risks that maybe Jared Goff's not going to because he kind of knows his limitations, right?
Sure.
But Goff also got to the Super Bowl with the Rams too.
Yes.
We just gave Sean McVay all of the credit for that.
I mean,
even though in that insane Monday Night Football game, it was Goff and Mahomes going touchdown for touchdown with each other. Like we watched Goff light it up. We watched him play well.
I think
they were just out coached by Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
Out coach, outplayed.
I think, well, that's the thing too, right? That Super Bowl, I think, did a lot to hurt Jared Goff's legacy in LA because there were flaws in his game 100%. We were robbed of a Saints-Patriots Super Bowl, which I thought would have been significantly better. But it's just because the Rams offense couldn't do anything against that Patriots defense. And it was such a low-scoring game. And it was just so uninspiring that I think kind of was like, okay, yeah, Jared Goff maybe.
Here's a hot take. Jared Goff will finish with more Super Bowl wins than Aaron Rodgers. Jared Goff will finish his career with more Super Bowl wins than
you think
Aaron
he's going to win 2 more Super Bowls?
He's going to win 2. Goff's going to win 2 Super Bowls. Woo! I didn't say it was a reasonable take. I said it's a hot take. We're going to rejoice when the Lions win 1 Super Bowl, but when that motherfucker wins 2, yes.
I don't know if we're going to get 2.
Come on, baby.
I don't know if we're going to get 2.
Josh Allen will finish his career with more Super Bowl wins than Patrick Mahomes.
That one, I think we're really starting to stretch the fabric of reality there just a little bit. Oh my God, I would trust the Broncos defense 1,000,000% this week. Though the Raiders offense did look better. It did look better. But last week against the Dolphins. But yeah, no.
Here's a good who gets their Super Bowl win first, Goff or Josh Allen? I think right now this season people are going to say Jared Goff because the Lions are so good.
I think it's the team around him too.
Yeah. So, and the Bills are sneaking up in there.
Bills, they're my number 2 team. And again, Milano coming back is going to make a difference. But I think the Lions have been playing this brand of football for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as long as they remain consistent, you don't have Jared Goff throwing 5 interceptions.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough to beat them. Like I'm very curious to see like when the Lions and the Bills play. I think the potential for Josh Allen to win is higher just because he can do so much. But again, talking about the system.
I know. Man,
let's go to the next locker room.
Aiden Hutchinson going down is such a tragedy because
take
TJ Watt off the Steelers, they get a lot worse.
Oh my God, yeah. We've seen
what I mean? Like, I hope he can be back and healthy for the Super Bowl when the Lions get there. But that's the thing, if you're looking like at next season for Detroit, that man's coming back. They're getting better just by him returning.
Correct.
And if they have figured out how to continually win games without Aiden Hutchinson, then they are going to be insane come 2025.
Yeah. I think so. I actually talked about this a little bit in power rankings yesterday. The Chiefs, I know we're now looking at them because they lost their first game of like what other games can they lose? But they have some tough games coming up within the division. Like I want to see them play the Broncos again. I want to see them play the Chargers again. Even though the Raiders game was relatively close too. So, and the Steelers, that's a brand of football that definitely could eke out, a 9-6 win. It is not a given, but the Chargers scared the crap out of me Sunday night. That does scare me.
There's
the
caveat there for the Chiefs is they're going to get help as well. Hollywood Brown's going to come back. Pacheco, and probably Rice at some point too, right? Like he might be back for playoff time with the Chiefs.
They could be getting better, right? Because
They
Hollywood
could get
Brown like
3
tweeted out
key
like
offensive players back.
and they know how to play in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Bucs took the Rams to the brink the following season, won their division both the following season. I wouldn't call that didn't work. I mean, in terms of what the goal is, right? In terms of they were not as good as that Super Bowl winning team. Like they were not as good. So they took the Rams to the brink, but their defense also allowed Matthew Stafford to throw a bomb on them and get down and win that football game. I don't think that happens. Like their defense was better the previous year. So in that sense of things, I don't think it worked. So, and again, like that's just perfect scenario, right? Because they brought in Gronk, they brought in all the people, but that defense was so damn good. That defense was scary good. That was way before Devin White fell off. You know, get Cliff in there. Why not?
Sad. The Bears are like, we should have hired Cliff. What did we should have?
Oh boy, dude. Yeah, Brandon Aubrey hitting a 64-yarder, and then
that's the right call though.
It is the right call. It's just, and then they wind up with nothing. Is just like because of course.
No, that I had that thought too. Like once they failed after that, it's like, dang, you really want those points now. This is a weird situation where a big penalty in your favor actually ultimately hurts you. But that's the right call.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Bo on
the wrong call. How many times did Cooper Rush throw the ball in that game? Over 50?
Cooper Rush is a capable quarterback. We've seen him take over for Dak before.
What are you doing, Mike?
Yeah, I don't.
Like
they don't have a run game, Brandon. They don't have a run game. They have nobody hand the ball to. Like Rico Dowdle's fine, but but
you still got to run. I don't care if. Let's see here, 55 fucking passing attempts for Cooper Rush. That's just stupidity. That is just dumb play calling.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. Hey, did you try that coffee?
I drink all of that, Rachel. It's gone.
It's all gone.
It's all gone. I'm not going to say it's good, though, because it's from Kansas City.
So that's fair.
Let's just say I drank all of it.
That's fair. That's fair. Eric, I hope things get better soon, my friend. Hope things get better soon. Listen, just keep on working on you. Talk to people if you need. Professionals included.
Positive vibes being sent.
Highly, highly recommend. Cannot recommend therapy more. We also got a AFC North battle tomorrow night. We got the Steelers and the Cleveland Browns.
Mm-hmm.
Again, divisional game. You never know. It's probably going to be AFC North. It's probably not going to be a good football game. But what surprised me, because I picked the Browns to upset the Saints this past Sunday, which I was wrong. But the offense looked good. Like Winston was playing pretty damn well. It's the defense that they didn't have JOK, which definitely, makes a difference. But damn, man, like
I'm not even going to think about the Browns. I'm not going to think about their football team. I'm not going to put any effort into analyzing their football team. Don't fucking care about them at all right now. They're so uninteresting to me.
That's fair.
I just can't. They might win. I don't care. I don't care, Cleveland.
I think Steelers win this. Wilson got opportunities to play. I mean, again, you could question the talent around him, but I think Richardson, just the athletic ability, that's why he's so coveted. And it's only realistically, it's his rookie season because he didn't really have much of a season last year. So that's why they're going to hold on to him. But again, it comes down to the question of, can teams develop? That's the question. You could draft a fantastic quarterback, but if you do not know how to develop that quarterback, things are going to probably go wrong. Because there are times where, and we have seen it in this league, where you have quarterbacks play above their team who are just drafted, and you're like, oh, these guys are already like really damn good. And I thought that with Joe Burrow even before he got injured. Like I thought he was that guy. And again, I still think he's a really, really good quarterback. But I'm saying you could see it. I remember vividly that Thursday night game against Cleveland, and I was like, oh, this guy's pocket presence is insane. And the Bengals were a really bad team at that point. So it's true. It's very, very true. Yeah, so, well, that's the thing too, right? It's heavily linked that Shedeur is going to go to Vegas. That's heavily linked.
He says God bless every time they lose or something.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't think an NFL team would be wise to hire Deion Sanders as their head coach just because they drafted Shedeur. I don't know if Deion's right for the NFL. I think he might be just better for college, but Shedeur that draft will be interesting for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, when you have a bad owner. That's it is so, and that's why I felt so much for Washington fans. What deal with that crap for years and years. Bears fans, like, again, it's not the same level, but it's frustrating, and you can't get rid of a bad owner, unless someone just buys the freaking team. Oh yeah, no, it's gonna be.
Yeah, I'm actually interested for this. It's the first time I've got intrigue about Hard Knocks in a while.
Perna, you got gifted 50 memberships from King Andrew II.
The only man with a better beard than me. Andrew, thank you so much.
Bow it down. You know what? You get a
King Andrew.
You get a scooter out.
Johnny John.
50 people are about to regret being forced to be members.
I became a member, I think, like 2 weeks ago or last week of your channel. It just like randomly, because I was in your chat and I just like that, and I got a notification. The same thing happened with Cole too.
Nice.
So yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it was. I don't think he was wasted. I actually completely disagree with that.
Yeah,
I completely disagree with that. I don't think it was the system. I think it became more Aaron Rodgers. The issue was they had defensive players who were studs get injured, who never got replaced on that team. And when they did in 2014, they had an epic collapse in the NFC Championship game. But Aaron Rodgers superseded that system for a while, especially after that 2014 season, where like you look at that run the table 2016 year, and Mike McCarthy, they had no defense. And Rodgers like, all right, I'm going to drag our asses to the playoffs, and dragged us to the
Mike
NFC
never evolved. He's like, you know what? Aaron Rodgers could throw it 55 times. Why not Cooper Rush?
Let's make Ty Montgomery our running back, even though he's a wide receiver. Like, that was with
Give
Aaron
me Taysom
Rodgers.
Hill. I'm going to have Taysom Hill throw it 55 times.
But they freaking tried.
Give me Nathan Peterman. I'll throw it 55 times.
Yeah.
Mike McCarthy.
Well, again, there's we're looking at Aaron Rodgers, and I think he's part of the problem. He's part of the problem, but he's not the whole problem.
No.
And like, this doesn't happen. This is going to sound harsh. This doesn't happen with a competent organization that is like fully like ready. It doesn't. It just doesn't.
Yeah. There's this clip too of McAfee trying to crap on Gutekunst from like a year or 2 years ago.
I know. No, yeah, how we know it's smart. Oh, no, Packers fans know. That's why it was a victory Monday and Tuesday, because, he's a really smart guy. We don't even know if Goody's a smart guy. Packers fans remember. Oh, we remember. So this actually has been going around a little bit. I've seen a little bit more on Twitter, because Cowboys fans were saying, hey, we were destroying bad teams last year, just like the Lions were, and we weren't getting any credit, but everyone loves when the Lions do it. And I was like, okay. I do still think the Lions are a more prepared football team right now than the Cowboys were last year. But I have said this. I do think, even though they're playing like the best team in football, I think the Lions are beatable. I think they're beatable. I don't think they're like
if they had Aiden Hutchinson.
But we'll see.
We'll find out. They got a solid Colts team. They'll play the Packers. They'll play the Bills.
Bills will be
the Niners. They'll play the Vikings.
Vikings will be a good rematch. I mean, Vikings
down the stretch here.
Yeah,
as long as they stay healthy.
Too many, Max. Too much whiskey. I don't know if they're. Yep. That's what I'm saying, Braden. Behind that offensive line, Geno Smith deserves some credit, because good God, man, it is bleak over there. Bleak.
Wham. Bad line.
I'm just saying he deserves a little bit of credit.
Hand it off to Kenneth Walker.
A little bit of credit.
Wham.
Yeah. Hey, exactly. 11 picks, Cordell. Exactly.
He's not the 9th best quarterback in the league, is all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Jared Goff is better than Geno Smith right now, no matter which way you look at it.
Yeah, I disagree. I completely, especially this season, dude, I disagree. Hutch, and just in terms of like pressures too, like he's pretty good. He was having a really good
game record, dude.
Yeah, he was having a really good.
You sound like me trying to say Mahomes is bad or something.
You're a believer. Oh yeah, real quick, Pern, I'm so sorry because you probably had to pee.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, real quick. Yes, the list of potential candidates for Hall of Fame for next year came out. Eli Manning is a big name on that list. Luke Kuechly is a big name on that list. There's always the debate about Eli Manning, if he should be a first ballot Hall of Famer or if he should be a Hall of Famer at all. I would not be surprised if he got in.
2 Super Bowls almost guarantees it.
Yeah, I would not be surprised. He has the lineage. And again, he's a clutch QB. And you know what, though? Eli Manning, I will always give, and I know he beat my team twice to go to those Super Bowls. I will always give him credit because he is one tough SOB, man.
Yeah.
That streak that he had, that is one of the biggest marks against the Giants organization in recent years. When they benched him, and I know things were not going well, that ain't how you do it.
That's also like with Woody Johnson. If he wanted to bench Rodgers, he's got the example of what not to do in the same city.
Yeah.
The Giants made that mistake.
Yeah.
For Dan Jones.
Yeah.
Dan Jones.
I don't know if Ben Johnson goes to Cincinnati, but God, that'd be fun too. Oh,
yeah, but I don't think offensive play calling's their problem.
It's not.
Well,
sometimes. But again, they don't need a god of an offensive coordinator for that team to function.
Yeah,
I mean?
They
don't need like an elite.
Points, okay,
they need to fix their freaking defense and their offensive line. That's what they need to do. That's what they do.
I'm not saying Zach's the answer, but
yeah, I think that they'll be fine. They'll be fine. But Chiefs and Browns, every time a player can't succeed or commit a felony, they go to the other team.
Yeah, that's been weird. It used to make sense because the Browns had what's his name? The GM that came over from Kansas City. The one Baker Mayfield impersonated. Why is that name slipping me?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
Oh my God, what's his name?
That's right, Carl Brooks, NFC Special Teams Player of the Week.
What the hell is his name? The that guy. Dorsey, thank you. Yeah.
Bo Nixon, AFC Offensive Player of the Week. Worst quarterback in the league, though, everybody. Worst quarterback in the league, winning Offensive Player of the Week.
Yeah.
Yep. There you go. Perna, what do you got?
Did he just win it? He won it again?
Yep.
Oh, breaking news. Suck it, world. The Broncos are so back. Our quarterback is God.
Yeah. Perna, what you got coming out today, buddy?
Power rankings.
Nice. Yeah. I'll be recording right after this predictions. So predictions will come out later this evening. So you can check that out. I'll be streaming tomorrow night as well. But folks, we appreciate the holiday, Perna. I hope you feel better soon, buddy. And,
I will survive.
We'll see you on Friday. But folks, thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. That's Brandon Perna. We're also a podcast. This is GPS, and you have been navigated.
Yes, download us on the podcast places. Links below.
You wouldn't download a car.
And you
could download the GPS podcast. You could do that.